Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Wednesday night's Art Stream Night. Thank you so much for joining me. We're going to be doing some photography tonight. And in an unusual move for me on Twitch, we're going to be... The primary focus is not going to be on just cemeteries. Or if you catch me over on Picardo for my not safe for work stuff. So we're gonna be doing some different things tonight. And good evening, Tiny Dragon on Fire. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Come on in. Water's fine. Hopefully you're all doing well, staying healthy and safe out there. Thank you, Tiny Dragon. Let's change that right now. Better? Had to readjust from when from last Monday's stream when I had my PlayStation hooked up. So I have to adjust the output setting every time. So you want to hear my dulcet tones? Aw, I love you too. But yes, we're gonna edit some photography this evening, and we're gonna start with the two images that I had shown in my promo. So we're gonna start with this one tonight. The other one that was in my promo was this one, shot in both in two different locations. So we're gonna start with this one. This particular image. Oh, I notice my webcam is not in my usual place for art, so let's fix that. There we go. So this image is taken, I shot this in a bar in New York City called the Campbell Apartments. This was at one point a residence. It sits above Grand Central Station, and this used to be the residence of one of New York City's richest people back in the early 20th century. And this was the first stop at a bachelor party for a friend of mine. This was about almost 3 years ago at this point. So yes, it's called the Campbell Apartments, and it is such a gorgeous, gorgeous bar. Look it up on Wikipedia. Look up the history of this. Again, the Campbell Apartments. And also a shout out to Pendragon3, who became a follower at some point between the end of Monday's stream and the start of this one. So thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. So let's begin. This whole place is gorgeous. I've got another one that I'll be editing a little later on of the view behind this, which is the bar, or part of the bar. It was just a small little bachelor party that my friend had. It's just a group of guys going bar and speakeasy hopping in New York City one very warm August day. Definitely brighten that up. It was a wonderful time, Tiny Dragon. The only problem that I had with it is that I am a goddamn lightweight. Oh my god, I am just an absolutely horrible lightweight. Like, I was after this place and the second place we went to, I was already ready to call it a day. And we were only like a couple hours into the day's festivities. Yeah, that's much more color accurate because I was taking this shot in incredibly low light, so it redshifts. So I had to tone down the red there a considerable amount. That is much closer to what it actually looked like. Yeah, there's definitely a considerable amount of noise because I shot this in low light. But we'll clean it up as best we can. That's what starts to happen on a digital camera when you start getting, when you are shooting in very low light settings. Especially without a tripod, which I did not have on me. You start getting grainy artifacts. Good evening, Icarus, and don't you worry, I will be here for the duration. Don't you worry your pretty little head. So let's start. If this might be able to. It's one of those images that, because of all the noise, definitely looks better in smaller size than obviously large. Yeah, that's not going to help me a whole lot. Oh god, no. No, no, no. Good lord, no. That goes per channel. Alright. gonna do me a whole lot of good, actually. Although despeckles seem to work a little bit. It did a little bit. Yeah, that did. Not gonna be able to do that for too much, though. Drink. But I think of all the places that we went to in New York City on this day, I think this was my favorite because I am also an architectural nerd, as you can clearly see by this image. I mean, I did a whole series called Urban Planning with just that in mind. Make it a little bit brighter. Not too much. Like, I already think that's a significant improvement. And yes, welcome, welcome, come on in. Good evening to all of you. Welcome to my Wednesday evening art stream. Tonight it's on Twitch because I'm doing some safe for work stuff as opposed to some not safe for work stuff, which I would normally do on Picardo. So yeah, pull up a seat, enjoy, relax. We've got music, we've got chat. What you're looking at is an image that I shot in a bar in New York City called the Campbell Apartments, which is just above Grand Central Station. Right in the heart of downtown Manhattan. Actually, quite lovely. If my father-in-law drank alcohol, I'd love to take him there. He does architectural salvage work. Ah. Now, if we turn that into my usual black and white. Ooh. Ooh. I say. Y'all knew this was coming. Those of you who follow my art and watch my streams for any length of time, you absolutely knew this had to happen. Yeah, just that little extra touch of brightness, I think. Just enough to still make out these wonderful ceiling details and just get the hint. We had gotten to this place literally like minutes after it opened, which is why there's nobody else in here. It was just us, 6 or 7, starting our day boozing it up. Although being in this particular bar, I felt so much out of my tax bracket. delicious cocktails, but I felt so out of... Then again, anytime I'm in New York City, I feel way out of my tax bracket. That's what happens when you live 3 hours north of New York City. All right, this particular fine fellow. This was from a cafe in Boston. Whereas when I go to Boston, I don't feel like I'm out of several tax brackets. It's my favorite city. And good evening, Winged, and welcome. Like, I have friends in New York City and downstate, so I try to see them. But if I ever had the possibility, if someone presented me with an opportunity to live and work in Boston comfortably, I would take that. I would absolutely take that. I can manage New York City for 3 days. Good evening, Printmaker. Welcome. Yeah, I don't want to go too far up the curves ladder because then I start just blowing stuff out. I do want to keep that sort of aura, especially with that sort of green lighting and the exit sign still pretty clearly. Because if I bring it up to where white actually starts to exist in the image, I'll lose the exit. So I want to keep that. Sort of looks like a promo image for a horror game by that. It's that phone. And I love the anachronism of this image because of that. Because the phone is slightly askew, but the exit sign is not. And it creates a very, very nice anachronism. I loathe this picture and would like it on a card for my card hoard. I'm just saying, if you want to throw money at me, I did put up like 4 or 5 images from the last art stream, the cemeteries, the ones I shot on film. They are up on my Redbubble now. If you feel like throwing money at me. Because I have no shame. I'll gladly take your money. Whether, it's on Twitch or through my Redbubble shop, I have no shame. Alright, but now let's desaturate it a bit here. Because it's not normally that green. And if I go... there's going to be a black and white version, obviously, because it's me. It's me you're talking to. Put this one up there, and I will order a few because I have no impulse control. Yes. Come on. Come on. Enter the off-screen wife. Hmm? This one was from Boston. You were taking a bathroom break when I took this shot.
Opportunistic bastard?
Yes. Oh. She wants everyone to look at her shirt. Everyone look at her tits for your... Promptly adopts. That's someone I follow on Jay Renzella, the woodcut artists. Yep. Printmaker's his moderator for the stream. Well, Tiny Dragons already said this looks like a promo image for a horror game.
It does. Apparently, so now I need to write a horror game.
Based off of this image.
Yeah.
Yep. Be careful as you leave. It's kind of cluttered back there.
Your room cluttered?
No.
No.
I have 2 boxes of frames back there because the two of us have accumulated so much unframed art that I was just like, okay, this is ridiculous. We need some stuff. All right. Back to, imagine if this was a phone that, amateur. It becomes, see, I can navigate, oh yeah. You can't see what's on Printmaker. You can't see what's on the other side of this backdrop. And I'm not going to show you. It's a demilitarized zone back there. Where the hell was I? Oh, yes, this. No, I don't want to... Yep, this is one that I use pretty regularly when I do photo shoots. It's my solid gray one. It works very well for me as a Twitch backdrop because gray is a photographer's best friend. So colors show up better on stream and things like that. So you can see my handsome mug without a whole lot of noise. Schrodinger's clutter. Right there with you, Printmaker. We only took ours down like 2 weeks ago? So let's see if we can... Let's see. Nope. The green... Oh, that's why. Okay. It's not the greens I want to desaturate. I want to desaturate the yellows. There's a reason I never post pics in my workspace. I'm stuck with most everything in one room. I make work. Yes. Carefully controlled chaos. There we go. Okay. Ooh. Ooh, I like that. If I wipe out the yellows entirely, that just... Ooh. Ooh. Let's keep a tinge, a small tinge of that, just as an accent. But I like... Ooh. If I go full yellow, yeah, that's just... Ooh. This is how you returned home from the Matrix in the early 20th century, Winged. This is how you exited. So I'm going to save a few versions of this image. I'm going to save one with just a hint of that yellow light. And I'll finish doing what I'm going to do. 4353. And we'll save it. No yellow. Yes. Okay. So back to where I was there, 75. Why save them separately when you can duplicate your layers and save several color options? It makes it easier for me so I know which one I was working on. If I keep them all in separate layers and I know I can duplicate my layers and save them. It just helps me know what specific idea I was working on. Because if I just save it and just do all that, I won't remember the separate ideas I had. It helps me remember. Ooh, let's shrink. Let's add a little more black to that. Not much. Not much at all. Also that printmaker. Because I use Adobe Bridge a lot, and when I see what I've done in Bridge, by having the separate files, I can actually see which idea went with what. Yeah, it creates duplicate files and takes up more space, but it helps me remember what the idea was. You're a big spender. I ain't. So this one was the standard. I'm gonna save it as it was. There we are. Yep. I mean, Photoshop only costs me $10 a month. Because I only have the Adobe photography subscription. It's Photoshop, Bridge, and Lightroom, and it's $10 a month. I do not pay for the full-blown Adobe Creative Suite. All right. So the other one was no yellow. So let's... Whoops. Whoop. That's what this was. So save it. The next was no yellow. And the fun thing about photography is that everyone has their own workflow. Any artist, really. Every artist has their own unique workflow. Adobe keeps sending me emails trying to subscribe. I had a free trial forever ago, and I'm just like, shoot, go away. I got what works for me, and I don't have to pay an eternal subscription fee for it. And you're right. Normally, I hate the idea of the subscription model. Normally, I hate that. But this wound up actually being a godsend for me in college because I could never afford a new update. Like, whenever Adobe used to come up with a new version of Photoshop, I was a broke college student. I couldn't afford to drop $600 as a one-time purchase. But I could afford $10 a month. And that was how I got through. I don't like the subscription model, but when you're in college and the entire art department uses the latest version of Photoshop, it's much easier to spend $10 a month than it is to drop $600 in one shot. That's just my personal experience. Obviously, your mileage may vary. Alright, now we're going full-on black and white. I really don't love that Adobe has become the industry Yeah. Yeah. I get that. There we go. Ooh. That's really fire up the red. Instead of doing the last thought, all my art school time was spent doing traditional art, which is another expense point entirely. It makes it hard for folks who can... Yeah. Exactly, Tiny Dragon. And that's it. That is the unfortunate fact. Now, with this black and white version, we can really adjust the red slider to really just have that exit sign punch you right in the goddamn face. We can do that with the yellow as well, but then we start running into the issue of JPEG artifacts. I don't really want that. Because this was another one that was taken in low light. And I just noticed that there's some stuff here from where the wall was. So let's clone that out. For the curious, tonight's music is once again, using my favorite video game remix website, Overclocked Remix. This is Final Fantasy VII. They did a remix album called Voices of the Lifestream. So that's what you're listening to this evening. I'm gonna have to do that on my others now. Okay. So now let me open that one and that one. And speaking of art programs, I only recently paid for one. I've been, until recently, just using different free programs that work reasonably well. But sometime last summer, Clip had a sale, and I decided to buy it, and it's been very nice what I needed for 10 out of 10. I have noticed a difference in your art, Icarus, and I've seen the improvement. I've seen the improvement, Icarus. You were just... I don't know if that was just a result of different programs or you've been experimenting, but you've been putting out some amazing stuff. Oh, wrong layer, dumbass. And thank you, Icarus. I do appreciate the love. Get on the right layer this time, idiot. And also, for those of you who are hanging around in the chat tonight, just want to take this brief moment to plug both Tiny Dragon on Fire and myself. We are both going to be part of the Artist Back Alley Raid Train event that is going on this weekend. I don't have a command set to pull up what Artist Back Alley is all about, because I forgot to do that. But yes, Tiny Dragon and I will be on this Saturday. Tiny Dragon will be streaming at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. Eastern. I think it's 1 p.m. Eastern. And then I will be on at 4 p.m. Eastern doing some more photo stuffs. All right. Close you, close you. So back to the bar. Maybe. Maybe back to the bar. Ooh, let me know, Icarus, when that is all set up and ready. Thank you, Printmaker. Thank you very much for that. I said I was going to do some city stuff. Okay. So speaking of cities, the next one I'm going to work on, actually, we'll come back to the bar, but I would like to shift gears to some more Boston. Back in the before times when we could travel. This is one of my favorite parts of Boston because there's such a confluence of history in this spot. This is the site of the Boston Massacre. Because that is the old State House down here, this brick building here. So you have this old colonial building, and you have surrounded in, it's like the city just kind of built itself up about. But yes, this is the spot where the Boston Massacre happened. This right here. And just a few hundred yards behind me, when I took this shot, we had Faneuil Hall and Quincy Market. Not too bad on the curves, actually. Could probably stand to be a little darker. It is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful place. I love it. It's a friggin' maze, and I love it. Because most of the roads in Boston are just badly paved over horse paths. Just wind. And a Dunkin' Donuts every 4 feet because it's Boston. You're not wrong, Tiny Dragon. That's pretty accurate. Yet I find it easier to navigate than New York City's subway system. A system like New York, like Boston names its different subway lines after colors, whereas New York City's uses numbers and letters, and that just, for some reason, it's much harder for me to grasp that than go, oh, take the blue line, take the red line, take the green line. I don't really think I need to do much in the way of desaturation here. Maybe a... No, I don't think so, actually. We'll get rid of you. As we just listen to the Chocobo theme. Sure. Get more contrast, actually. Wouldn't go on this. Choco Boston. That'd be fun because I mean you regularly have horse trails, especially around the Quincy Market area. Why don't you just hook one up to a chocobo and do that? Oh, I like that idea so much better, Tiny Dragon. No, I think this is... I didn't actually think I needed to do much work on this one. Thought I did. That's alright. Sometimes images are just very easy to knock out. Although, like maybe... I kind of like that better. I do kind of like that better. I'll keep that. And even better, have a golden... yeah, for context, Boston has these tour buses that are duck themed because the picture book may wait for ducklings. Even better, have a golden choco boat. Oh, I'd love that. I'd absolutely love that. So we have that. Let's go back to the bar. Step up to the bar, boys! If you're just joining me, I am welcome on in to our photography art stream. I am E. Roivas, but I also go by Brian French professionally. Brian J. French is my photography. If you would like, if you are interested in my art, you want to see more of my art, just type in !art and it will take you, the link will take you to my card page, which has all the links. Vero, Instagram, Patreon, Redbubble, professional website. It's all there, all the different ways you can support me and my art. !art will give you that link. Good evening, Lena. Welcome, welcome. There is the link for all of you out there. If you want to see the link aggregates, again, Instagram. Instagram is where I put all my safe for work stuff. Vero is where I put a lot of my safe for work, but also my not safe for work stuff. If you are of the not safe for work persuasion. Just popping in quick while I well, thank you so much. I do love your company and everyone's company. So right now I'm about to start editing a picture of a bar that I shot when I was at a friend's bachelor party and bar hopping in Manhattan. Just to recap, Lena, in front of the bar is we have this view. This is a place. This is called the Campbell Apartments. It's a bar. It used to be a residence, but now it's a bar that is directly above Grand Central Station in New York City. And it used to be owned by one of New York's wealthiest back in the early 20th century. Krisk! Welcome on in, Krisk! You made it! You made it! Long time no see! Welcome! Thank you, Lena. Get me some of that nice lemon water. Curves here is also pretty good as well. And we've got a lot of darker tones, which is to be expected in this particular image, but I'm pretty satisfied with that, so I don't need to adjust black and white point. No, these are images that this particular one was about 3 years ago. I during a friend's bachelor party, we went bar hopping in New York City on a fine, hot August day. And this was the first site. This was the first stop we went to. Let me just bring that back up again. The first place we stopped at was a bar that was sitting just it's directly above Grand Central Station, called the Campbell Apartments. And this was my descent into madness because I am such a lightweight that, like, I think we went to 5 or 6 different bars, but by the second one I was like, that's it. I'm drinking water for the rest of the day. Because, I mean, you're talking to someone who can start to get tipsy after one angry orchard if his stomach is empty. So, Crohn's disease will do that to you. Yeah, yes, just ask Lena. Who has met me? We have associated in person. Yes, I'm a very, very cheap date. Crohn's does suck, printmaker, but so far so good. I had major surgery 6 years ago to remove 1.5 feet of my intestine, and I have been in remission ever since. So far so good. Let's hope it stays that way. All right. Hue saturation. Yeah, we're just definitely gonna need a bit on the. We're gonna definitely need to tone down some of the red shift here to something a bit more accurate. Because this is what happens when you are shooting in very, very low light without a tripod. Excellent, printmaker. Beautiful. Yeah, I had Crohn's for 10 years before I finally needed surgery. And since then, it has been the blessed immunosuppressant drugs, and I'm in complete remission. So it's wonderful. Yay, fellow cronies in the chat. But yes, so we are in the middle of editing That tequila's in front on our shelf. Yeah, that exact one, Tiny Dragon. You went to New York City, swiped it, and buggered off with it. Yeah, that is definitely a much better shift. Sometimes I wish I had a lower tolerance. I can drink a fair bit before it's a problem. I mean, Icarus, no offense, but we can tell when the amount has been getting too much because you do start losing grasp of the English language. Yes, but when you start losing letters, like all caps is one thing, but when you're in all caps and you're dropping letters like it's a fad that has quickly gone out of style, then that's how we know that you're floating. Curves, hue saturation. What is next? Brightness, contrast, probably. Yep. Not too much, but that definitely changes things up a bit. I'm happy with my tolerance. I prefer not to feel boozy. It's uncomfortable and tingly, like bugs all over. It just happens sometimes. It just so happens to occur when I've been drinking. I'm not as think as you drunk I am. And our last bit of touch here, let's add a little bit of selective color to that. Before we do, actually, let me hook up my external here so you can actually see what the full bar looks like. I won't edit it, but I would love you to see this. And because I am on immunosuppressant drugs, it means I am eligible for the COVID vaccine in New York. So in 1 month from now, I will be getting my first shot, the first of the COVID shots. Because, goddamn, I miss people so much. So much. So, yeah, let me show you this beautiful bar here. Okay, it was July 2018 when this took place. That's the full bar. Research in Canada indicates that those on biologics are actually less likely to have a serious outcome, so we're lumped in with the Oh, boo hiss. I would totally steal those lampshades. Yep. That's the full. And I decided to go for an extreme close-up. Alright, so we've saved that, and now let's do my usual. Do the usual. black and white. I did kind of want to bring the bar home with me, not gonna lie, but that would have been one hell of a thing to try to pack on a Greyhound bus from New York City to Albany. I don't know how I came with me. I just stuff it under the bus. Thank you, Streamlabs, for just bang, bang, bang. I like that. That looks good to me. All right, let's shift back into some film. Don't worry, we will definitely get the obligatory cemetery in there because this is me we're talking about. But let's go to these two, which were both shot in the same place. Icarus, you're probably going to recognize this mirror. Window, not mirror. So this image and this image were taken at a museum that I really enjoy in North Adams, Massachusetts, called MassMoCA. It's the Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art. It's a weird fucking place. I mean, if you like weird art, weird contemporary art, if you just want to have a mind fuck, go to this museum. Because MassMoCA was initially, before it became a world-renowned museum, it used to be a textile factory on the Hoosick River in the Berkshires. So there's a lot of this old, intact brick for most of the buildings in this complex. Yeah, we want to go up. Actually, wait a minute. Ah, there we go. Yep. That's what I should have done first. Revert. Change it to RGB color. There we go. Ah! That's better. This is 35 millimeter film. And I came to MassMoCA one day. I needed to do some homework assignment for one of my photo classes, and I decided I'm in this town. I have to hit up the museum. I have to. been a few years since I've been there. That and the Clark, which is another great museum. I go to the Clark after I have a trip through Mass Mocha because I need a palate cleanser after that mindfuck. And I'm like, okay, I need some realism now. To ground me. Yeah, we do have a few bits of dust and scratches here, so we're gonna take care of those. I kind of really badly want to show you what I'm going to be working on for the artist raid train. The artist back alley raid train this weekend, but at the same time I'm like, nope, spoilers. Can't have that. You're just going to have to tune in. You're going to have to watch Tiny Dragon on Fire and myself. Meanie. Okay, I might show you one or two. How about we compromise? There you go. I say this every time, but this step where I'm taking out dust and scratches, this is so preferable to how you have to do it if we were making an actual print and using India ink to stipple out. Like, I know some people love that. I wanted to tear my hair out. Like, there was one drawing class that I took in college, and one of our assignments was to create a piece with just stipple, with our micron pens and create and do stipple, and I just, oh, that sucked. That. Of all the art classes I took when I was in college, drawing was not my strongest suit. Only slightly really because stippling, but my drawing teachers always insisted I do stippling because I was better than a hatching or cross hatching. It was like, okay, yes, but how do I move the others? Like, this to me is so much more preferable. Okay, I think we're just about there. Because some of these are, like, actual marks on the door and not just hair or dust that found its way onto the negative while I was scanning it. I mean, it's probably a good stress reliever for some people. You want to take out your frustrations. Just take the... Stab something a trillion times. It's very fiddly what you love. Alright, that's fair. Alright. Let's take a step back here. Zoom out a little more. Yeah. I'm happy with that. Remember it's Photoshop when the clones... I mean, same printmaker. Right there with you. So even teachers were like, this is a hard deadline. You should do the line technique that takes you the longest. So this one, I was crouched underneath like a big tank. And there was a hole in this tank that you see here. And I'm actually looking up toward the ceiling of this big, large room that I was in. This giant, I assume it was a boiler, possibly, but it was just, at this point, it was just like basically one massive pile of tetanus. So... like, before the clone stamp came into play, I would just do the what I sometimes do, which is the old dust and scratches filter. Because I know that's been around for a long time. Meh. Oh, I didn't really start seriously, like, scanning my negatives until... I mean, I did some in college, obviously, but then I saved up enough money to buy the same scanner that my college used, because I was familiar with it, and that's what I use, my Epson Perfection, for all of my negative scanning. Because while I can develop film at home, and I do all the time, I don't have a proper setup to make prints, actual physical prints, because I rent. My wife, we rent this apartment. I think our landlord would be very, very angry if I just decided one day to rearrange the plumbing. A little bit. It's just a skosh. This one definitely has much more noticeable dust and scratches on it. Darker. Too much. I think 3% will be. Okay. Now I wonder, this is only a test, if I can get away with just at a single stroke. I can. The image is blurry enough. Thank you, Streamlabs. 45 minutes or so to go on tonight's stream, at which point, whoever is here, we will take you over to my good friend Lena the Oddity, who was here earlier. She's another wonderful artist and a great friend, and does a lot of great stuff. So we'll be taking you over there in about 45 minutes or so. It's like I'm starting to sound like a DJ again. And you're just at 45 minutes or so. We'll take you on over. It's 8:46 here in Saratoga Springs, and I'll be bringing you the best in musical sounds these next 36 hours. It's like that NPR sound. I think that's where a chunk of my audience went anyway. That's all right. She only streams once a week, where I typically stream 2 to 3, so whatever. You guys are still here. All right. Next up on tonight, we got about, like I said, 45 minutes or so. So, time to do what I know you guys came here for. Look, one day I realized that the voice I use when I do my closing comments spiel at work is, "This is your due date, paperwork, receipt." This is my Renfest voice, which I picked up from the performers. Yep, we're gonna go back into some death. This one is actually underground. This is beneath. Next time we're on a call, and I'll do it for you. You hear what I mean? This one's underground. This one is under the Old North Church in Boston. The Old North Church in Boston is where Paul Revere started his famous midnight ride. You know, the whole, the British are coming, the British are coming. That's where he started. And this particular church, for at least 50, 75 years, if you were a member of the church, you could be interred beneath the church. And I went on a tour of the catacombs beneath the Old North Church. Really, really awesome stuff. And, this one was from 1740, aged 49. And they continued on with this practice until the mid-1800s, when when the internments under the church became outlawed for sanitary reasons. Because they weren't getting a proper burial. You weren't buried 6 feet underground, so it kind of became a little bit of a public health hazard when you have all these decomposing bodies directly beneath where you are worshiping. So, a little bit of a problem. And there was a section of this underground, of this catacomb, we were on the tour, that had been closed off, and somebody had asked why that section had caution tape and stuff around it, and it was because shortly before that day, the day that we took the tour, they discovered some more bones, some unidentified remains, and they were in the process of trying to identify those remains. They didn't know that they found them. They found just more bones. So it became sort of a bit of an archaeological dig. Yeah, just a little unsanitary. Surprise! Ooh. I like that. I like bumping up the contrast on this one. This one actually looks pretty good. What do you mean you didn't want surprise bones? Too bad, you're getting them. Yeah, they had found some previously. So this was... When did we go? I think this was February 2018. Well, I've got my external hard drive connected. I can just look it up. Boston. Yes, February 2018. I wonder if they found out who those were. But also, fun story. With the internments that were under the church, you actually had to pay for those spots. And if you couldn't afford it all at once, you could do a payment plan, and which was to be taken up, which would have been hopefully paid in full by the time you died. If not, then your family would have had to take care of the remaining expense. And if you couldn't, well, then that led to a few scenarios where if you couldn't afford your spot or your family couldn't, they would just etch your name out and give that spot to somebody else. And I actually do have an example of that. Whoops! Didn't want that. I do believe that is not that day. Ah, there we are. That was this one. Which no. So yeah, so someone had reserved this spot. I guess this is the 26th spot. And so they reserve it, they etch your name in here, but then if you died and your family couldn't afford to pay the rest of the fee, that's what happened. They would etch your name out and they would give your spot to somebody who could pay up. There's a reason that image I just showed you, when I put it up on my Instagram and my Vero, I had called it Too Poor to Die. Because, yeah. because that's what would happen. The church had to make money somehow. Come here for the artwork. Stay for the historical tidbits. So now we're going to shift over to black and white again. You always learn something new every time you wander into one of my art streams. I like to give you a little bit of context. That's something I like doing with these art streams particularly. Give you sort of like the history or the context behind the shot. Let you dive a little deeper into my brain as to how I do. Too much. Because photography, one of its many, many wonderful things that I love about it is its ability to tell a story. I mean, that's true of any artwork, a drawing, painting, poetry, a novel, music. I mean, any form of art, really, there's always a story behind it, but photography has that wonderful ability where you can invent a story. Like if you're seeing an image for the first time and you can invent something, or you can have interpretive dances, or you can have, like, if the photographer feels like it, can tell you the story behind the image or the thought process that went into making that image. It's so much fun. Like, to reference like an earlier image from tonight, like beep, 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 and suddenly I'm Porky Pig. You know, like this one, for example. Like, Tiny Dragon on Fire said that, you know, this looks like a horror story. And it's like, and you know, when my wife showed up, it's like, she could write a story just based on that image alone. And I told you what she said, because she said I'd never seen this image before. But yeah, because I shot it while you were in the bathroom. I didn't show you it because while I was waiting for you to get out of the bathroom, I was like, ooh, that looks cool. Click. Which, you know, that is you know, some of the it might be some of the less interesting side of photography, because sometimes as a photographer, there's a great deal of luck sometimes that happens with a shot. Sometimes there's a lot of context behind it, there's a story behind it. Others are just like, well, that looks cool, click. What am I going to do? I've got my camera, I'm looking around. Wife's taking a shit. What do I do? Ooh, that looks nice. All right. So now I'm going to show you two of the same image taken on two different cameras. So we have this one, which I shot. This is Hillside Cemetery in North Adams, Massachusetts. I think I took this on the same day that I did that and the one with the window, the broken window. I believe this was done on the same day. So this image from Hillside Cemetery, right by the train track. And then I took that same shot with a different camera called a Holga. Now, if you've heard me mention Holga cameras before, Holga cameras are They don't make them anymore. They stopped a few years ago. Holga cameras are these tiny, tiny, really like $25 piece of shit plastic toy cameras. They are considered toy cameras. And this was actually my introduction to medium format film. So it was my introduction to this size film. This is medium format. And the Holga cameras are it's all cheap plastic. The lens on them, it doesn't focus. It's a cheap plastic lens. The viewfinder in the camera is off center, so what you see in the viewfinder isn't actually what's coming through the lens. It is so prone. Everything is fully manual. So every time you take an image, you have to wind the film. And I would forget so many times. So I wound up creating so many accidental double exposures, double or triple exposures in some cases. But yep, these were taken on the same day in the same cemetery. So that is my 35 millimeter. Thank you, printmaker. 35 millimeter and Holga. I would actually be curious to see what this now looks like, obviously like 5, 6 years later, with my actual SLR medium format camera. This chonky thing, this 5.25 pound chonky behemoth. My Pentax, my baby here. And another fun thing about the Holga camera, there's also no light meter inside of it, so it's like you just hold down the shutter and pray that you're gonna get something decent out of it. I mean, you could go through the expense of finding a light meter. You could go to the trouble of actually plunking down money, buying one of these light meters, measure how much light you've got, and make a guesstimate as to a proper exposure. But oh, they're cute. And I make fun of it now. Very spoopy. I make fun of it now, but I mean, I have to credit that camera with getting me interested in medium format film and eventually saving up the money to get that chonker. So that I could see what medium format looks like in like sharp focus. But this is 35 millimeter. And I thank you all so much for joining me this evening. Got half an hour more to go on tonight's art stream. You'll definitely be seeing me again doing another. Well, I'm going to be streaming again on Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. I'll continue. That's Resident Evil 1, and then Saturday afternoon, I'll be on the Artist Back Alley Raid Train event. Really, really looking forward to that. And I did, as a compromise, I did say to Printmaker that I will show 1 or 2 images that I will be working on for the raid train. So I will be occupying the 4 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern slot. All right, Printmaker. I will not forget. Oh, also something I think I should probably advertise. My Patreon is about to turn 2 years old. Now, last year, I did a thing when it hit the 1 year anniversary. I did something for all patrons as a thank you for any existing patrons and any new ones who came on during the special event received a 4x6 print of their choosing, any image. They could have gone onto my website or Instagram or what, any image, and I made them a 4x6 print. So this year, what I'm going to be doing for existing patrons and any new patrons when I actually announce the special event, for year number 2, they're going to be getting some stickers. I've done an order of stickers, and they're going to get stickers. They're round stickers, like 1.5-inch stickers. One sheet of them are headstone, Puritan headstone images, so some of the Puritan skulls that I've taken during my travels, and another sheet will be of just fun facial expressions that have happened during some of my cosplay shoots. So new patrons and existing patrons will get a couple of sheet stickers to mark the 2-year anniversary. And when I announce that, that'll be up on the social medias as well as Patreon. So if you want to support me on Patreon and support my arts, again, the link is right in the chat. That's to my card page, which is the big link aggregate, and my Patreon is in that link. So it's on that page. So. Oh. I've been yakking. I didn't realize I clicked the selective color twice. Oops. I want more of that selective black. Same cemetery, different spot. Center that. Actually, I think I want to keep that just as is and let brightness contrast take care of the rest. We'll see. Yeah. Better job. Better job. I swear, the more I use that big Pentax, the stronger my neck muscles are gonna get. Big chonk. Aha. Are you light? No, you are actually dust and scratches. Okay. I'm gonna run and grab a snack, and I'm actually gonna switch over to Lena's stream a little early. I'll see you there. Yes. Whoever is still here by the time 9:30 rolls around, I will bring along with a raid. So that is fine. This is the fun that happens when you overlap someone else's art stream. But yes, Icarus, I will see you over there. Thank you so much for stopping by. I will see you there shortly. As always, your company is immensely appreciated. I love you too. And the good thing about having a bunch of mixed foliage in the background, Clone Stamp sort of becomes like a paintbrush. I should actually go back to the other one and take a look. Because it's like, oh, I do see hair. That's what happens when you zoom in. Nope. Like you look zooming in and looking at a leaf, I'm like, is that like a scratch or is that bird shit? Or is that sunlight? That is definitely a scratch. That's the name of our fun game. Is that is that dust or is that bird shit? The home game, you decide. Hey, Jay Renzella, thank you so much. I'm doing great. How about you? Welcome, welcome. You made it. Been editing a variety of images tonight. I'm doing very, very well. We're getting the printers in here tonight. Nice. You just woke up. That's right. It's tomorrow for you over there, isn't it? Because, yeah, it's 9:15 Eastern. 9:15 Eastern Wednesday. So, good morning. You're speaking to me from the future. Nice. So I've been working on just to give you a little recap of what I've been doing tonight. These are just all photographs I've taken. We've done some cemetery stuff. We've done. Well, I've done some color stuff. This was taken in a bar. City of Boston. What else have I been working on tonight? Old-timey looking phone and an exit sign in a cafe in Boston. Working on a variety of things tonight. And in just a few minutes' time, in about 15 minutes or so, 15, 20 minutes, I will, I came to harass the streamer. Oh, Boston, the closest thing I have to a hometown. So where I live in New York, I live near Albany, New York, and Boston is basically a 3-hour straight shot due east from where I live. It's one of my absolute favorite cities to go to, and I miss it terribly. Where was I? Back to this one. That's right. Checking for dust and scratches. Yep, exactly. I-90. Just, for me, it's get on the Northway, I-87 for about 30 minutes, and then get on I-90 East and just stay there until you run out. Yep. Alright, any obvious dust and scratches to head it out of this one? Oh, sky. Nope, I see it. I see one. Yeah, you ain't supposed to be there. There we go. Oh, wow. How did I miss that? Oh, no, that's not dust. That's trash. That is actual trash that someone left there. We used to call Massachusetts drivers massholes, but after Taiwanese action... If you don't mind me asking, sir, whereabouts did you live? You don't have to give me an exact, just... There we go. I seem to remember you mentioning once on your stream it was New Hampshire? You lived in New Hampshire thereabouts? There we go. I think that's enough of the obvious. I spent a few years in Manchester, New Hampshire, and then went to high school on the Seacoast, New Hampshire. But the extended family is all Boston, so that's the place I always go back to. New Hampshire is such a gorgeous place. When I went on vacation, my wife and I, for our 11th wedding anniversary, we went to Portsmouth. We went to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and we went up to the White Mountains. We did actually go to Manchester one day to check out the museum there. The Courier, I think it was called the Courier Museum, and to also go cemetery hopping. I'll actually show you what I actually wound up shooting in New Hampshire this past October. Just a couple. I know they would have been film pictures. Yeah, that one was in the big historical cemetery in Manchester. Portsmouth is such a chill town. You should do a lot of cemetery stuff. Hey, what about the aesthetic speak to you? Predominantly the history. I'm particularly drawn to older cemeteries, like 17th and 18th century cemeteries, because they're so gorgeous to look at, and if they're well intact, a lot of them are well intact, especially in New England. Like, they take great care to make sure those stones are still legible and readable. And also because most of those were using slate, which holds up. Once we shifted into the 19th century and people started shifting to marble and granite, does not hold up as well. So they were a lot more... They were more sort of memorials. Like, if you look at a lot of older New England, like, Puritan headstones, so you'll see poetry on them. You'll see bits of Bible verse on them. You know, it's not just, name, birth date, death date. Like, it was a process. And on one end of that I really enjoy, still, like, you're still remembered when you die, when you have a monument like that. You're not lost to time. And then on the other end of the cemetery spectrum, I also like to shoot headstones that are virtually blank. I'll give you an example. Give you a couple examples. So this one here, this image was from a cemetery that really speaks to me. This headstone I shot, this was from a small cemetery in Provincetown, Massachusetts, right off on Cape Cod. And this is not easily accessible. You can't drive to this. You actually have to pull over at a specific point on Route 6 in Provincetown and walk for like 10 minutes on some unmarked trails to get to this small wooded area that has roughly 13 of these headstones in it. This area they're almost in a straight line. It's 1 to 13, and there's a small depression of land where a house used to be. This was known as the Smallpox Cemetery. And this cemetery was sort of set up during a time when smallpox wasn't really understood. And before the smallpox vaccine came to this part of the world. So what common knowledge was these people that had smallpox, we need to get them away from the general population. Even in death, we need to get them away. So these people were people who really didn't have any sort of family. They wouldn't really be missed. They were sort of like, maybe migrant workers, ship workers, dock workers in Provincetown. They would get sick and they would come to this house, which was called the Sick House, where the caretaker there would just basically care for them until they died, and he would bury them. And there were 13 such individuals buried in this small, out-of-the-way, hard-to-get-to cemetery. Like, I didn't even know this existed until I was doing a search for cemeteries in that part of Cape Cod, and this came up on Atlas Obscura, which is just an awesome website. And when I got here, I felt so... It was an emotional experience. Like, I felt sadness and anger at the same time. Like, why were these people buried without a name? Why are they buried here with just a number? And, you know, why did somebody decide that the memory of these people should be consigned to history? So I did some digging, figuratively, not here, and found that, like, within the last 10, 15 years, at a different cemetery in Provincetown, they kind of apologized. There's actually a plaque in their much larger historical cemetery, right toward the entrance of it, which is a monument to these 13 individuals. So they actually, like, Provincetown sort of did a, we're sorry that we did this, here's a plaque that have the names, because the town still has the historical record of all 13 individuals who were buried here. And it was a pretty sobering experience. So on the one hand, I enjoy the beautiful, descriptive Puritan headstones, and on the other, I really enjoy trying to figure out why somebody decided that certain people should be buried without a name. That was a very, very long-winded answer to your question, and I hope you made sense of that, sir. There was a tiny cemetery from the 1700s near where I went to high school, but never investigated it. Separately, did an art program in Beverly, Massachusetts. We went out and did rubbings of the headstones. That was fun. But yeah, that from my last trip to Portsmouth was just so interesting, because I'd hit up a number of cemeteries that I hadn't before. Like this, like I'll show you just one or two more because I am going to be winding down. Like this one was from a cemetery in Hampton, New Hampshire. And one more. This is from 1758. This was from a cemetery in Bedford, New Hampshire. Yep. But this is all fascinating stuff. I love seeing what these old cemeteries have in store. This particular one in Hampton, New Hampshire. This one is Pine Grove Cemetery. This one dates back to 1658. So before I call it a night here, because we're about to hit the 2-hour mark, I promised Printmaker that I would show just some of the images that I'm going to be working on this Saturday for the Artist Back Alley Raid Train. I'll be on set this Saturday from 4 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. So, like I said, I did promise Printmaker, and I am a man of my word. So let's just do a couple. A little sneaky peeky. Nice. You went on 5-man attempts, so sadly I will not be able to attend. Well, I will say this for you, sir. All my streams are up on Twitch. They stay on Twitch for 2 weeks, and then 2 days after I do a live stream, I put them up on my YouTube channel. There you are. Thank you, Printmaker. So 2 to 3 days after a stream goes up. So on your own time, if you want to catch what I wind up doing during the ABA raid train, it'll be there on Monday. But yes. All right, Printmaker. As promised, I'll show you a couple. So I'll show you one from one of my earlier cosplay shoots that I did back in 2018 that I'll be working on. Then I will show you one that I'll be working on. Let's see, is that work safe? Yeah, there's nothing showing. That's safe. This was some images that I did as part of my Pieces of Grid series. And one more, I think. Because it's me we're talking about. I will probably throw in one or two cemeteries from the actual last time I went to a cemetery a month ago, where I shot this role and developed it on stream. So I'll be working on some of those. So yeah, a mix of cosplay, some body photography, and one or two cemetery shots are what I'm going to be doing during the hour that I am on for the raid train. So that will be fun. So yes, let's do a recap of what I did this evening before we raid Lena. Recap time. Get to see my background there for a moment. Let's bring y'all over here. Thank you so much, Jay. Thank you so much. I'm glad you were able to make it. So what did we do this evening? We started off with the bar that I went to in 2018 for my friend's bachelor party. We started off with the Campbell Apartments. So this bar is this bar is in New York City, just above Grand Central Station. And this was behind me. And then we went to Boston for a little bit, where I did some edits from just a quick little shot that I saw this in a cafe while we were taking a breather, walking around Boston, and I was just like, yes, good, yes, good. And then more of downtown Boston, right at the old State House, right at the site of the Boston Massacre. Then a internment, a stone from the catacombs beneath the Old North Church in Boston. And then a couple from that I shot in one of the slightly ruined buildings at MassMoCA, the Massachusetts Museum of Contemporary Art. And then we wrapped up with a couple of cemetery images that I had shot also in North Adams. So we did a variety this evening. It's one of the things about COVID is that since I haven't been able to do any studio shoots as a result of the pandemic, it's kind of forced me to go back into some of my older work and revisit them and take a look at images that I didn't edit the first time around. Because sometimes when you're looking at a bunch of images at once from a particular shoot, you're right. You go cross-eyed as to seeing which ones, get edited the first time around. So then, you wait a few months or years in case. You look at it with a fresh set of eyes and you go, you know what? That actually came out, that was a decent shot. I think I'll work on that. And so that's what I've been doing a lot with these art streams. So I'm glad you're enjoying. So and if you like what you see, throw me a follow, or if you're feeling really generous, a sub or some bits. Those are never ever required. Just appreciated. I much prefer having your company here. So, all right, let me see. Let's see what Lena is up to before we all go over. See what we got. And thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. I'm glad the printers were able to make it. I know that time zones are not really much of a thing. Time zones are a thing. So it looks like Lena is working on a commission. So we're going to go from photography to illustration. So let's bring you all over there. You can check out the full stream, Jay, in a couple days on your own time on YouTube. It'll be there forever, or until YouTube goes bye-bye. So, again, thank you all so much for stopping by, and as always, next time I stream will be this Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Resident Evil 1 continuing, and then Saturday afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern, the Artist Back Alley Raid Train. So stay healthy, stay safe, wear a fucking mask, please. COVID is still a thing. I don't want to hear about any of you getting sick because of your own stupidity. So, again, thank you all so much. I will see you in a couple nights. Have a good one.